And welcome to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast. Happy New Year. That's it. This is the first episode of 2026, and all the best to you, Kristin. Good to be with you.
Yeah, great to be with you too, Bill. Happy 2026.
Yeah, man.
Heading into year 3, if you can believe it, of our podcast.
Oh, that is fantastic. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to you.
It's really fun. I'm excited about it, and I've got some great guests lined up for the year. So excited to share that too. But I don't want to hold back. I want to get back into it. I know it's the time of year when, if people are listening to this right now, they are eagerly working through their resolutions, goals, first quarter rocks, whatever it might be, to get going. And one of those areas that I know comes up is business development. So, the key piece of growing a financial advisory firm comes down to, what are you doing when it comes to business development? So we're going to talk about how to frame that and how to get started on business development this year.
Very good. So where do we start?
Well, let's first kind of set up the problem that I see here, which is I've heard so many firms, and I think we've talked about this in previous episodes, ask, how much time should my advisors be spending on business development? And so, new advisors who might be newer stepping into the business development role will be tasked with, okay, you have to do business development, or you need to spend 3 hours a week doing business development. This is now part of your responsibilities and your compensation. And then the advisor sits down going, okay, I have my hours set aside today to do business development. And then they're left to stare into space and go, what should I do? How do I take
You've
this
talked
hour?
about this before. There are some people who are natural rainmakers who this is just like, wow, that's just what I do. I could just do this.
Yeah,
and
I know
there
exactly
are other people
what to do.
Who are like, okay, I'm staring at the wall now.
Yeah, maybe you're like, I'll go on LinkedIn, and the next thing you know, you're in a rabbit hole on some discussion about someone's conference appearance, and then you're like, oh, that did nothing for me.
Right.
And you start to go, what am I doing? And next thing you know, the hour's wasted. So what I want to talk about is just a starting point, and it's one that I've used for years and years and years and years throughout my career, and one that kind of keeps me grounded. And it's one that is kind of taught across multiple coaching programs. It's certainly not new or revolutionary, but it's about creating an opportunity list, right? A list of people that you can reach out to, specific names that you can reach out to work on growing your business. So what we're talking about here is trying to build deeper relationships with fewer people rather than how many people can I reach out and touch. It's all about, how do I look at relationships I either want to create or ones I already have and take them to that next level. So we're looking to nurture over time versus transaction, because we're not in a strict sales business, right?
Right.
We're in a relationship business. We're serving people. We want to continue to serve, to show them how we engage, how we can add value to them. And then through that interaction and that deepening of the relationship, at the point where their trigger event happens, where they have a problem and they need your help, you're the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really, really good point, because I think I don't know if it's most or just a few, but I think sometimes when people look at business development, they think of sales and they think it's transactional, and they forget, especially in the financial services and financial advising business, it's not transactional.
Right.
It's a relationship that they've got to build, right?
Right. And every conversation doesn't mean you're talking about finances or talking about how you can help with their retirement income strategy. That's not what it's about. Hey there, it's Kristin. Quick break. If you're enjoying the show and you want more, head on over to fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. You can download the toolkits that I have there and join the free insider community. You'll be the first to hear about new trainings, fresh podcast episodes, and I share with you real-world strategies that I see working for advisors right now. That's fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources. Go sign up. It's completely free. And now, back to the show. So today, let's talk about how to build this list of people.
Great.
Whether you already have one that you work from, it may spark some new ideas of where you haven't looked, or if you're starting completely from scratch, we can talk about building this list. And I know I've referenced Mo Bunnell's book, The Snowball System, and I think I've also he has another one called Give to Grow. Two great books on business development. But he talks about putting together your protomoi list, which I kind of heard that and was like, what's that?
Wow, I just thought that too. I was like, oh, what?
I know. Protomoi, it's Greek.
Okay.
Meaning first among equals, which I'm not sure I completely resonate with that, but I like the idea where he talks about getting a focus list of, say, 5 to 10 important people who can influence your long-term business success, whether they can give referrals or help you with hiring someone for the team, or provide influence in some way. So that's kind of one way of framing it, this protomoi list. I have been part of the strategic coach system for a number of years, and they have something called the top 20 list, which is they have this weekly planner, and you kind of write down, you have this ongoing list of top 20, and these are relationships that they frame it as people over the next 90 days who can help you drive revenue. So it's a bit more urgent in that way. But that kind of gives you, if you're familiar with either of those, kind of an understanding of what it looks like. I know back in the early days of my career, I just had a Rolodex.
A what?
Right? And you had, yes, Bill,
what?
A series of cards.
I know what they are.
For the younger folks out there, a series of cards that went into this little filey thing that sat on your desk.
And you rolled it around and people's names.
You'd staple in a business card as you got them. And then you could flip around in your Rolodex. You'd be like, who do I know?
Michael, man.
That's a long time. That's going to age me. But there was something about the tactical nature of that and the visual reminder of seeing the Rolodex, which is why I think, people who are really good at that and went and collected a lot of business cards, they had the constant reminder and they knew, oh, let me go through who haven't I talked to in a while. Essentially, it's a CRM, right?
Right. It's exactly what it is.
It's a CRM. It's just on cards. But, we can have also this list in a CRM, which I like because you want to keep track of what's, it can prompt you for like, hey, this is your task, this is your outreach, this is the next step. But without those triggers built in to remind you, you may not remember to look. So while you do want to keep everything in a CRM, I like to have a separate list, just similar to the top 20 or the protomoi or something like that, where it's like I have a single list. I keep it on a Google Sheet. You can keep it however you want, but I have it there and I call it my opportunity list, and I go in and go, okay, who's on the list? What's the next? What was our last interaction, and what's my next step?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you make notes about, do you make notes on that deal?
Definitely. I look at, what is I have the name, what is the opportunity, what was the last interaction, and then what's my next step? And I constantly go back in when I go, okay, I'm doing business development, let me check back to my opportunity list, and I go back and go through that. Despite having people in a CRM or in other areas of my day-to-day work, that's where I keep it so I can focus when I get into that. But alas, we may all wonder, how do we build this list?
Yes.
Who's on it? Because sometimes I look and I'm like, all right, it's running out of people. It's time for a refresh. And then when I'm coaching teams, so when I'm doing the enterprise coaching for teams of advisors, we walk through exercises similar to what we're going to go through today, just to start fueling the fire and
Okay.
getting people thinking about their community. So perhaps the easiest place to look and the most obvious is existing clients, right? Clients you've been working with for a while, and you may already have regular points where you're meeting with them, but there may be certain ones in there who are extremely well connected, who have a proclivity to refer, who are part of an organization that you want to meet. So if there are certain people or certain clients maybe you haven't talked to in a while, or they're going through a life change, we can list that down and go, okay, these specific clients if you want to use a 90-day timeline, these specific clients over the next 90 days, I definitely want to reach out to, congratulate them on the birth of the grandchild, reach out and talk to them about a specific organization they're involved in, whatever it might be. So that's kind of an easy way to kind of mine existing relationships. So that's one. And then kind of a subset of people you already know are existing contacts that you have. And this could be people, and these are people who are not yet clients, but you already know them. So we're really kind of looking in this group of people I already know. Maybe it's people who are your neighbors. Maybe former work colleagues. They're a great place to go because you can talk about what are you doing, if you think they could be a person in the right profile. People who have come to an event that you held that might be in kind of that quiet prospect, the prospect purgatory, right, where they're hanging out and we haven't heard from them in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Get their name there, right, which is unfocused.
Some friends. It could be anything. So the thing you want to write down is kind of who the person is, how you know them. Oh, I used to work with them at Starbucks. And now, when I was at corporate, not me, but all right, I used to work with them when I worked at Charles Schwab, and now I work elsewhere. And so I'll reach out to them. Mm-hmm. What's the topic I can reconnect on? So the hardest part is always figuring out what is that next step. So it may be, hey, let's, my former work colleague moved to a new job. Okay, let me meet up for lunch. And then we can talk about that. So the first step there is to send an invitation to meet for lunch. So, and then we take it from there. So people you already know are an easy place to go on the list. I know advisors get a little squirrely about it because they don't want to upset the existing relationships that they already have. But these are really, truly the easiest ones because you can reach out to them for something non-work related and have a conversation. And it's not odd.
Is it easier if you aren't thinking about these things as being transactional? I mean,
exactly right. That's what I just did a coaching call yesterday with a group, and that was that was what the sort of epiphany for one of the advisors who was quite nervous about reaching out. He was meeting with a client who he hadn't seen in a while, who was really connected in the community, extremely connected. And he said, all I did was just ask him how retirement was going. And then we were talking, and he said, then I just said, hey, we're working on growing the firm. What's your advice? What advice do you have? He had long been in the world. And so then he's like, we went on for 20, 30 minutes, having a great dialogue. And he's like, he just let go of the transaction piece.
Yes.
And was just having a relationship, asking questions, being curious. And that gets back to that curiosity episode where we talked about those 27 questions that you can ask. He just got curious and he kind of let go. And it's like, this is just about learning. Oh, it was great. Brilliant. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, that's great. That's terrific. Because
it was really exciting because his takeaway was, that was a whole lot easier than I thought, because he was making it harder in his mind than what would be natural just to have a conversation with someone and have the awareness to just ask that little bit of a different question and to frame and say, hey, we're growing and working. How would you do it if you were me, knowing that this was a former engaged, business leader?
Good questions lead to good answers.
I loved it. Okay, so another one, other people who are pretty obvious to be on the list are strategic professional partners. So these are your traditional COIs, right? Mm-hmm. Centers of influence, CPAs, estate attorneys, mortgage brokers, bankers, business valuation experts, payroll providers, whatever fits within, the service offering that might have the same target audience you have, mm-hmm. You'd have it here. So who is it? What's their profession? Why are they a good fit? And then what's the next step? And I highly encourage people here, I'm going to do a little self-promotion, is I have a free toolkit on the website. We'll put a link in to the resource page. It's fulladvisorcoaching.com/resources, but I have the Growth Acceleration Toolkit. And one of the things in that toolkit is, how do you evaluate strategic partners, centers of influence? Because we'll probably do a whole episode on this, Bill, but there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And so it's really about how do we make sure that we're zeroing in on those tier 1 relationships, the ones that will have the most value, versus kind of wasting our time too much on the tier 3. They may make the list, but that guidebook will walk you through specifically how to evaluate and what to look for in professional partners. So we're not wasting time here, but we're being strategic and thoughtful and really looking at who are the people who have the influence that we can serve each other in that way.
Good.
So no, that's we'll make note of that for another episode. Okay, what about local organizations and groups? There may be certain areas. A lot of people come to me and go, oh, I'm part of my local Vistage chapter. I'm part of the EO, or entrepreneurial organization, I think it's called. But the EO, we know it as YEO, EO. There's a lot of groups like that. There's nonprofit boards, local networking groups. Those are another area we can start to say, okay, which groups make sense for me to engage in? Where should I show up? So this is less about an individual as it is around, okay, here's an organization that I've been curious about. I'm going to show up and, looking and saying obviously we want to find organizations that have the ideal client that we want.
Yeah.
And then we say, okay, what's the next step? Oh, I'm going to test, show up at the next networking meeting, or go to their conference that's local, or reach out to the president of the association. So that's another area where you can start to look and have a little more leverage or opportunity there.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that you're probably coaching people, find the organizations where you think your ideal clients would be. But go because you're curious. Go because you're interested. Go because you want to engage. Don't walk in there going, I got to find people to put on my list. Go and enjoy the social interaction and the networking, right?
Exactly. I think that is really key because it'll put you at ease.
Yes.
Right? So don't force fit something. Be like, I've got to go to the Chamber of Commerce meeting and show up and just be miserable. Find a niche topic you're interested in. That actually gets a little bit into the next one, so we'll blend it together of like, what is a niche topic, whether it's professional, right? Like, or nonprofit where you're serving on a board, or is it something else that you're involved in, such as like a running club or a Toastmasters group, or some sort of interest that you have, whether it's a hobby. A lot of golf kind of falls in this category, right? People playing golf, playing pickleball, whatever it might be. Here's a place where, what is the group or the activity? What type of people might be there? I mean, ideally, you're already participating in something like that. But if there is an area in your life where you're like, I have a client who is an ultra marathon competitor.
Yeah.
And
I don't
triathlete,
understand those people, but
I
that's
don't
God
either.
bless them, man. I do.
I spend like 15 minutes on every call with him going, okay, tell me about the latest one. Okay, tell me about your training. I'm just fascinated and in awe. I'm not planning to do it myself by any means. I can barely run to the corner. And I'm pretty fit, as you know. I love working out, but man, running, I don't get it.
100+ miles, for crying out loud.
I know. I just don't get it. My feet hurt thinking about it.
I know. I'm with you on that.
I just talked to my husband about that yesterday. I'm like, I just don't get it. But more power to you, and I appreciate the efforts there. Nonetheless, he's involved in, a swimming club. He's involved. He does triathletes too, like a running club, a swimming club. So natural things there. Who are the people there? Who might I identify in that group that I could speak with? So again, don't go to something to be like, yes, all of the like weekend warriors show up there and they have money. I'll show up there too. You have to be interested in it. I mean, show up to something you're interested in and try to identify the people who could be a good fit while you're there.
No, I think the word that comes to my mind is be authentic. If you really are interested in ultra marathons, then great. But if you're like me and not, you're thinking like 3K is just about where my limits are, don't show up at an ultra marathon club because people are like, why is this person here? What are they doing? It's just,
Yeah, but maybe there's another type of social group or like a way to engage in something out, a hiking club or an outdoor activity in some way where you're like, hey, this is great. I can get to know people. And while I'm there, I have the eye to, this could be a place where, and usually if you're putting this on your list, it's something you're already involved in that could have the opportunity, but you've not really thought about how to this is, if you're newer to business development and this is something, it may be a place you forget to look or don't consider, where it's like, if you're already engaged or involved, then that can be a way. And it could be something like involved in your church, right? Or your temple or something in the community there. Like there could be something where you're like, yes, that's part of what I do. And you don't necessarily, you're not going to go in there and be transactional.
No.
But you can certainly think about people you know from there and engage with them at different points.
Well, there's a point that there's an example that comes to my mind really readily. Is I know some people who are involved in where they worship, and they volunteer and do things like, I'm going to hold a seminar on planning for college or whatever, with no intention of like drawing in clients, just because they're trying to be of service to the organization and to the people who are also members of it. But guess what? That's business development potentially.
Right. And it's also picking a topic that would be helpful, but it could be as simple as just being engaged or volunteering. I know my daughter and I have gone and volunteered to prepare like food and meals and stuff and interacting with a whole bunch of different people. Right. It's something we're already doing. And, if I happen to meet another professional person who is there volunteering and we're chatting about it, I'm going to then take that offline somewhere else and continue that conversation. So this is really helping you look at your whole life and say, where are the pockets where I may already have relationships, or it's an easier entree into a conversation by nature of already being involved and engaged and interested. And I think that's the key piece, is you can't force fit it.
Right. Yes.
But we can also tap into our favorite. This one I bring up, but with hesitation, because I like when you're out in the community and engaging with people.
Yes.
But the community is big now. It's online. It's everywhere. If you serve people across the country, I'm not going to argue about LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. You know that. I'm out there a lot.
I love it as well. We're both active on it. Yeah.
And I just did an episode 47 with Derek Pollard, all about LinkedIn and adding value and connecting and getting in front of people. And so that whole episode is all about this, which LinkedIn connections can be a great way to have conversations, especially with influencers, right? Especially with people who are COIs, people who can connect. You can easily see who's connected to whom, and ask for introductions and do research and find out who's involved where. So it's a natural place to be, as well as Facebook groups on specific topics. Also good if you're involved in a Facebook group, or those can be really useful as long as you're not stepping out of the bounds of the rules of the group, right? But that's a great, I have a client who works with military. He participates in a Facebook group there, and he will weigh in and provide answers, clarity to questions, provide articles, but not say, hey, reach out to me. He just puts it in there with his knowledge, and then people reach out to him as needed. So definitely, and there's also kind of, if you look at some neighborhood forums or groups, that's another, it's just an area where it can be very, and these are all very localized when I talk about like neighborhood forums, but you try to think of where's the commonality. The commonality could be an interest group like Facebook, a LinkedIn connection where you both know a mutual person in some 6 degrees of separation concept. It could be, volunteer groups in your area, neighborhood forums, all those things. So how is it, when you look at those, how is it that you can show up in a helpful manner?
Yes.
To contribute, and what does that look like?
Yes.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, those people do draw people into them because they don't appear to be, quote unquote, selling anything. They're just there.
And that's how you have to go in with intention of, again, service over selling. How can I help the people here with a problem they have? The goal is to find the people who have the problems that you can solve.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not just showing up anywhere. It's showing up with an eye for, I'm going to show up where my audience is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, because people could say, oh, I spent a lot of time, I volunteered, I did this, I did that, I went to the chamber. I'm like, but if your audience isn't there and you can't engage in meaningful conversation with people around topics that you can be helpful around, it won't work. So it just won't. I mean, you're going to have you might have some nice conversations, but you're probably not going to move along in business in that way.
Exactly. So we got a list, and these are some pretty practical suggestions in terms of the way that you can begin building these lists and identifying people that belong on the list and everything. Mm-hmm. But once you've created a list, as everyone knows, if there's no priority to the list, it's kind of like, just sort of
you just kind of look
shooting
and go,
into the dark, as it were.
Yeah, fabulous. I love my list, right?
I got a great list.
Like, okay, yeah. So that's where we need to prioritize. So hopefully by going through like mining all of these different parts of your life and thinking about who are the people. One thing I did forget to mention is people that you'd like to meet who you haven't met. And this is a great one. Like if you have been to an event and you heard someone speak. Yeah. It's such a great way to reach out and say, hey, I saw your presentation at that conference, or we were at that, neighborhood meeting last week, and I know that you, attorney, came in and talked about X, Y, or Z. I, really appreciate that. I'd love to meet with you. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to already know these people. Right. You could be aware of them and say, wow, I'd like to reach out to them. Or I found an organization who it makes sense for me to try to reach out to. And that's where you might navigate through LinkedIn to see if you know anyone who might know someone, et cetera. But ultimately, we have to prioritize, right? We have to have, all right, which ones do we think which ones do you feel energy toward? Which ones are you feeling drawn to? Which ones are the ones you can more easily reach out to so you can have a few early wins? Yeah. Right? So that you can see, oh, it's not so hard. Oh, yeah, I've already played golf with them like 6 months ago. I could reach out again, something like that. So we want to get a prioritization. And it's as simple as saying, okay, what is the name of the person or the organization? Why are they a priority? Like, what's important about reaching out to them? like, oh, they have a great network of, that estate planning attorney serves divorced women going through divorce, and I'm a CDFA, so I'm an expert in helping women going through divorce.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is the most important thing. What is your first outreach action? It's not like, call them up and make sale. It could be as simple as open up email, send email invite for coffee, right? It could be send email note that says, hey, just thought about you. I read this article the other day and you came to mind.
Yeah.
It could be that simple. It could be, I recently heard you speak at the neighborhood forum, the town meeting. I'd love to connect. Or you were at this conference I went to. Can we get together? Very simple, straightforward, but make it clear. It's an email, it's a phone call, it's a reach out on LinkedIn, it's a show up at an event. It is, challenge yourself to talk to person at next outing that you go to, whatever it is. And then importantly, we need the accountability. Right? This is what the coaching does. When I'm doing the coaching, we have the accountability, and then every time we have a call, everyone checks in and kind of gives their update. I did that. I didn't do that. Here's where I got nervous. Here's where I got stuck. Oh, I brought it up, but this happened. Or, hey, this is what happened, and now this is the next step that's happening. So we have the built-in accountability in that sense, but you can do it for yourself or with an accountability partner or a study group or someone. Set the date, right? Like, when are you going to do it by? And I like to break these down. You can do it weekly and set a commitment for the week saying, okay, for the next, 4 weeks, I will complete at least blank outreach actions each week. So for the next 4 weeks, I will complete 5 outreach actions each week, even if they're small. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then you check in after 4 weeks and go, was that the right number? Should I dial that up? Should I dial it down? Do I need to add more people to my list? But do it in little experiments, not like, here's my grand goal for the whole year, and I need to bring in 20% more growth than last year, and I am, going to lock that in first quarter. It's like, schedule a few phone calls or literally say, respond to email from so-and-so.
Yeah.
Send link to schedule.
I think that a lot of people, I think process gets demeaned by a lot of people. They're going, oh, it's process. I don't have anything to do with process. But the beauty of creating a practical process, it does a couple of things in my mind. One, it creates clear, actionable items that you know exactly what to do. And second, it does create a little bit of discipline so that it's like if you say to yourself, I'm doing 3 hours this week, at the end of a couple of weeks of doing 3 hours, the accountability kicks in and you go, is this 3 hours good? Am I getting it done? Maybe I need to do 4. But you've begun, like you were just talking about. You're creating a process to which you can stick to.
Right. Exactly. I love that. It gets me back to that whole episode of progress over perfection.
Yes.
So that every time we talk about it, I'm like, progress over perfection. I'm rebranding, I think. But again, it's testing it out. And like I've seen with my clients I'm coaching, it's great to see the teams because they learn from each other. And someone else might weigh in and say, hey, what I really liked about that approach was how you asked for advice. And then they think, how might I apply that to my relationships? And then they talk through it. So I thought that was really interesting. And then we also talk about like different personalities and how, someone might approach meet up with someone by calling them, and someone else might text someone else might send an email. So it was just very interesting. It's interesting to see the dynamics play out, and I'm hopeful this will be a theme that we can build on and get deeper into across the year as we learn, and as I see more case studies of what people do and what works and how they can overcome their fear when it comes to business development.
I think that's fantastic. And I think that if anybody who is listening to this podcast is not familiar with you, but run a firm or work at a firm that is interested in growing themselves from as you put it oftenly, from a 1.0 to a 2.0, I think they should reach out to you, to be quite honest. How would they do that, Kristin?
Well, Bill, it's quite simple, and I appreciate the endorsement and reinforcement of inviting people to request a call with me.
Yes.
So you go to the Full Advisor Coaching website, fulladvisorcoaching.com, click the request a call button in the upper right-hand corner. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn. Message me there, and we can find a time to connect and have a conversation and see what makes sense.
Yeah, no. And I will testify. I frequently will reach out to Kristin via LinkedIn. She's there. She answers. She's not a robot. There's no bot doing her business. It's her.
Exactly. It's true. It's true.
Yeah. The other thing I'd encourage everybody to do, if you're not a subscriber already, is to hit the follow button and become a subscriber. Very easy. Because then when the next episode drops, you'll be notified. Pretty easy that way, isn't it?
I love it. And if you are an avid listener and you're willing to share your perspective, we always appreciate ratings and reviews.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that is part of the podcast world, right? Getting the reviews out there, and I really appreciate them. I read all of them. I think it's really interesting and fun, and it is very helpful. So thank you in advance for your reviews.
Yeah, it's great. And I would add, thank you in advance for telling people or recommending the podcast, because people talking to other people, kind of like the relationship thing we've been talking about during this episode,
right, exactly.
Makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when it comes down to, like, who is one person you could send this episode to that would benefit from it? Like, who is a specific name, right? Getting back to, rather than broad, hey, share it, it's really like, who specifically do you know that could benefit from it? Great. We appreciate you sharing with that specific person. So,
we do indeed.
Yes.
So until next time, I'm Bill Tucker. On behalf of Kristin and everybody at Full Advisor Coaching, thank you for taking the time to listen. And we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to Full Advisor Coaching, the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please hit the follow button so you'll never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can become a part of the Full Advisor community, visit fulladvisorcoaching.com. Remember, stay connected and get notified as soon as brand new episodes release. Click the follow button now. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Kristin Harrod or Full Advisor Coaching.